Hey guys, today I'm looking at Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. I love this game. This is definitely a cult classic for anyone who has played it or owned it or knows anything about it. It is very uncharacteristically Nintendo. This is a dark science fiction / medieval puzzle solving adventure action game with a very interesting story and really horror elements as well. So what's interesting is this game also does like limb dismemberment before Dead Space did. You would have hold the R button and then select a body part that you would attack and chop off. And so you could do the head or the arms and whatever, and usually you're just fighting zombies or whatever. Well, what's really interesting and engaging about this game really is the story. The fact it takes place across multiple centuries, like, history, civilizations, India, France, medieval France, World War I France, modern day Iraq. There's just a whole slew of different fascinating places and characters you play as in this game. And so the basic overall premise is that there's this thing called the Tome of Eternal Darkness, similar to the Necronomicon from Lovecraft. And this whole thing is extremely, I would say, Lovecraftian. But instead of being more science fiction, it's more like history and ancient kind of vibes. In the sense that these ancient, unknowable beings are the ancient gods or the unknown ones that kind of rule the universe, and their temples are like deep underground, hidden in human temples before any kind of religion. And so you kind of go into different time periods. In each chapter you play as a different character or as a character through multiple areas, and you basically have to find an item or basically uncover part of the story, and then it goes to their descendant or it goes to someone else in the story, and then it all comes back to the hub world essentially, where you play as Alex Roivas, who lives in Rhode Island in her father's manor, who is basically in this haunted house, and he mysteriously passed away in an extremely gruesome fashion. You're there kind of investigating, finding out what happened to him. And as you read the Tome of Eternal Darkness that you found in his possession, not only do you find about all this weird occult stuff that has transpired, and each story in the Tome of Eternal Darkness, which is made from like flesh and bone and blood, is part of that story. And so you kind of have to go into the past and play each chapter as Alice reads this tome, and also uses the tome itself as a spellbook to unlock different things in her house and in the environment. And so as you complete each quest as a character, you have a new clue as to what to follow in the house in the modern era. And so again, this game is like very ambitious, very impressive. You get a selection. Each character has their own kind of usually melee weapons, usually a sword. Later on, you do actually get guns. So this has, guns and swords, a whole kind of combination. Again, combat is not the main focus of this game. It really is a lot of puzzle solving, really. Speaking of that, there is one level in this game where I was so flustered and defeated by it, and it was so simple. I'll never forget it. It was one of the temples where it was a floor pattern puzzle where you would step on these like rings or whatever, and there would be no movement, but you'd hear the sound. And I was so utterly like filtered, brain dead, confused, because this one room, I had no idea until someone who was walking by just pointed out, oh, hey, I think you need to stand on those rings. I'm like, no, I don't. They don't even move. They're just boring textures. And sure enough, that's exactly what I had to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Floor puzzles for me, I don't know. I have a weird history with them being kind of difficult. But anyway, yeah, so this game has a great cast of characters. They kind of appear for, a chapter here and there, so not super important. I mean, like, I think that the one that really cements how, like, far this game reaches is that one of the final chapters, you play a African-Canadian firefighter who is joined the military and has found himself in an underground temple in Iraq during, the Iraq War. And he finds this ancient, like, demigod, whatever, that he has to, face. Like, they just go, like, really, really weird and esoteric. Like, okay, we're doing this, kind of thing. And again, there's this whole thing where you kind of go through the dungeon, you have to fight the monsters, and then, do a spell or something. And sometimes a lot of these characters meet gruesome fates, but the main kind of antagonist, despite all this, is actually a Roman soldier who basically has gained immortality through one of these ancient artifacts, and is basically trying to take over the world using it and get more power for himself. And so he's kind of the overarching character, and you finally kind of beat him in this final climactic battle at the end of the game. The other really interesting thing is that, of course, the main mechanic people know about this game, and I believe it's licensed still by Nintendo, is the sanity meter. The fact that when your sanity meter drains, you will go insane. I don't know exactly how that works in terms of copyright and how hard that is, because I immediately thought of the frenzy meter from Dark Souls, or Bloodborne rather, where if that gets full, then you lose a bunch of health and you go crazy. But in this game, as the meter drains, it's really cool. It doesn't have to reach the bottom, but your TV will do weird stuff. So unfortunately, there's some of these things are outdated, some of the effects that how it messes with you. Simply because just the dynamics of how CRTs to LCDs work, like the whole volume button that would be a bright green, they'd have this thing where it would turn all the way down, or it'd go to video 3, and the VCRs and kind of those kind of setups no longer use the video system. They just have set channels, and they don't look like that anymore. But I love the ambition and the fact that they do things like there be a fly on the screen. The one that really got me was honestly when it said, "Oh, we deleted all of your game data successfully," and I was kind of like, "Okay, that's a joke." But it stayed on screen for a while, and it's like, "Wait, what if it's not?" And then immediately as I started thinking it might be real, it reverted back to like the gameplay. So it spent enough time on the screen that it really does get to you. But I really love how this game tries to mess with you. There's also one where I think your character will cut off their own head and start walking around. So there's definitely like a lot of scenarios like that. I think the head one is the most common one, honestly. It's kind of annoying, frankly, because it's fake and you just don't get over with. But in any case, this game has an amazing story, amazing atmosphere, and amazing voice acting. Specifically, I would say not her father, but her father's like great grandfather who like came to Rhode Island initially. That character has an amazing voice acting. And what I love about him is that he does the descriptions for all of the enemies in the game. You have this bestiary like thing, and so he will always do the audio for reading out loud the actual description of the enemies, which is not only like a bonus, like usually those things aren't voiced, but the way he describes it has got to be one of the best voice acting performances I've ever heard. You feel like the fear and the madness in his voice. And again, for this kind of game to be an exclusive on the GameCube is just really, really bizarre. Another thing I would like to say about this game too is that it's not so much horror based as in it's like, about gore and all that stuff and with scaring the player. It's about unnerving the player and mixing those aspects of really Lovecraft and these ancient deities, these ancient forces that are beyond comprehension. It's very it's more similar, I would say, honestly, to the ending of Earthbound with the Gigas fight, that you cannot conceptualize or understand how you are being attacked, but you are being attacked, and that this thing is just like impossible to comprehend, and it's just so beyond you that the fear of it is beyond you. And so the basic way the sanity meter works, usually if an enemy stares at you, so much, I guess, amnesia or something, you'll lose sanity, and if you kill an enemy or you solve a puzzle, you'll get sanity back. And yeah, it's a really cool system. I really like it. And again, the story is just so well written and again, somewhat believable. Like you go to like real places and areas, and there's connections between, you know, historical figures and stuff like that. And Silicon Knights in general is honestly a great video game company. So this is definitely one of their best productions, and it really is just amazing how well it's written and how interesting it is, and just how it all kind of just comes together and works really, really well. A really cool component of the game as well is how the magic system works. Essentially, you have 3 different languages and how you combine the runes. And it's cool because each language or rune type or rune color is tied to a different god of, like, you know, the underworld, or, you know, the unknown ones, essentially. And so as you combine different runes together and you start speaking this strange tongue with these symbols that actually cast the magic spell. So it works in a very kind of traditional magic system, like you have a way of speaking and the thing will, you know, happen. But the fact that each thing is tied back to one of these ancient gods that, you know, you don't kill any of them in this game. You don't get to kill a god. This is a Western RPG, you know. I just think it's so well thought out and so interesting, and it makes a lot of intuitive sense. As you said, the symbols and the words and how they all work together, like it feels like one of the best magic systems in a game where you feel like you're actually doing real magic, like actual witchcraft, in that sense. Of course, it's not cursing anyone, you're just like casting fire spells or health spells and all that kind of good stuff. So again, you know, this combines the perfect elements of, you know, dark spirituality, the unknown, you know, the elements of horror and history all together to make a very distinct, unique game. And I think there was a sequel that was planned for the Switch or the Wii or something that eventually got canceled or turned into something else. I forget exactly what, but it was called like Eternal Darkness, the Secrets Within, or the Book of Secrets, or some crap like that. I forget. But I would love to see a sequel to this game if it's done by the same people, because it is just... There's nothing quite like this, because it's not just a horror game. Like I said, it's so much more than that. And for anyone who's ever played it, this is just an absolute classic. And I can see it being one of those super expensive games that you see on eBay or something. But yeah, this is absolutely a joy to play. And if you're into Lovecraft or dark horror, this is like mandatory media, basically. Anyway, guys, with all that being said, I will see you later. Bye-bye.